Welcome to the Texas Truck Podcast, formerly Brake Tech Show Podcast, episode 23. I'm Craig.
And I'm Brian.
And today we have a special guest. I'm going to let Brian get into that intro here in just a second, but we're excited about this one, and we think you will be too. So, Brian, without further ado, who do we have today?
We have Adam Moore. He is another Texas native, just like us, so he's a perfect fit for this show. He is the writer, the editor, and the publisher of Texas Garage. He has been either shooting with a camera or doing video or writing about vehicles for over 14 years. And a little background, I've known Adam, I guess, that whole time. His cousin and I are good friends, and he actually, without knowing it, introduced this whole world of automotive journalism to us. So I want to thank him big time for being a bit of an origin and genesis for us and what we do on Texas Truck Podcast and Texas Truck Show and channel. So anyways, without further ado, Adam Moore from Texas Garage, welcome.
What's up, guys? A big fan, obviously. You guys know.
Well, you're a big inspiration to us. Thanks for taking the time to be on here. You're actually our first guest to have on the podcast. And I know we've been kicking this can around for a while, trying to figure out but mostly scheduling and also how we're going to handle a 3-person recording. But thanks for getting on with us, man. This is great.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Adam, I do want to get into some of the stuff Brian's already covered, and that is, first and foremost, I am so sorry that you somehow knew my brother longer than you've needed to, because I've known him way longer than I would have preferred, and I've survived it somehow, and so have you. Anyways, why don't you dig into that connection a little bit more, how you do know him, and how y'all know each other, and what that connection is there. Maybe the two of y'all can talk about it. But Adam, how did you first get to meet Brian, and what's the scoop there?
Oh man, so like Brian said, my cousin was his friend, I guess, in college. I don't even really know completely their backstory, but just through visiting my cousin every once in a while and meeting Brian and being both car fanatics, we hit it off and have known each other for a while.
Nice. And so was he as goofy then as he is now? Just for clarification for the audience, this is a good question. This is just good journalism. So
this is not journalism.
No, that's exactly what this is. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll answer for Adam. The answer is absolutely not. There's no way. I've never been goofy ever, Craig. What are you talking about?
Okay. Also, I want a key point Adam said there, that his cousin was your friend. So to clarify, was that an accurate statement, or are y'all maybe still friends?
We are definitely still friends, and that was an accurate statement. We were friends then as well. That is true.
Okay. Well, all right. So clearly,
that's what he said, but okay.
Well, sure.
Well, question your cousin's judgment, Adam, but that's okay. Sounds like you're pretty smart, so that's good. So you said you're a car fanatic. Let's explore that a little bit. What makes you a car fanatic? Why do you love cars? Why cars? And by cars, I'm saying cars, trucks, SUVs, all that business. Why are you a gearhead? What got you into it, and why are you still loving it?
That's a good question. I've always loved cars, I guess. I wouldn't even call myself a gearhead necessarily. Mechanically, I don't know a whole lot about cars. That's why I love listening to you guys, because y'all are way more knowledgeable with a lot of that stuff than I am. But I've always been attracted to cars. Obviously, the design of them, the tech in them, the way that they drive. I've done a lot of driving through my years. And worked in car dealerships, which was obviously a mistake, but I did my time there. But yeah, I don't know. It's just always been a passion that I've had.
No, that's awesome. So, and then you made a good point, because I think we throw around some of these terms quick, like gearhead. I guess I ask both of you guys, is gearhead more of the wrencher? Is that what gearhead means? Because I always throw a gearhead around as you just a car guy. What do y'all think?
I mean, I've used it interchangeably. I've called myself a gearhead before,
okay.
But when I think about it, it makes me think of like a mechanic, somebody that's wrenching on a car. And I've done a little bit, but like I wouldn't call myself uh, a gearhead like that. I don't know.
Well,
Sure.
I want to jump in there real quick because this is actually a bit of your history, Adam, that I don't know that much about, but I know at one point when you were working with one of your dealers, didn't y'all have a project car of sorts that you ended up turbocharging, and maybe it was a media vehicle or a promotional vehicle? Is
Yeah.
that true?
So and this actually gets into a little bit of how and why I started Texas Garage, but I worked for a Suzuki dealership back in the day when Suzuki was still in the
Oh man,
US.
yeah,
Oh yes.
And I worked for the parts and service department, and I convinced the owners, which I was good friends with, and that's how I kind of got roped into the whole car dealership. I talked them into like, let's do something cool, let's do something exciting, let's make like uh, a unique car that we can have in the showroom that we could take to shows and stuff like that. And they had a Suzuki SX4 in a
Yes.
manual. And there was a company called Road Race Motorsports from California that just started developing a turbo package for the SX4. And I believe our car was either like two or three in the country to get that thing installed in a car. So we put a body kit on it, put a turbo in it. And again, I'm not the one wrenching on this. A lot of this was like my idea. I sketched out what the graphic design should look like and stuff like that. But our mechanics at the Suzuki dealership are the ones that installed everything. And I just kind of oversaw it and then shot a bunch of video, shot a bunch of photos, put it on social media, took it to a car show in Ennis. I don't remember what the name of it was, but way back in the day, they used to do car shows out there. And yeah, it was a bunch of fun getting it all started and ramped up and seen through. And then the owner lost interest, and we kind of just let it sit in the showroom. And yeah, that's kind of the history on that.
No, that's awesome. So a Suzuki SX4 with a body kit and a turbo. So I immediately begs the question: what added more horsepower, the body kit or the turbo?
No, the graphics added the most horsepower.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
there we
So
go.
we
graphic
did a
design.
whole.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
answer.
We did a rally graphic package. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. We did a rally graphics package. It had rally wheels on it. It was pretty slick.
Oh, that is pretty
Man,
cool. That sounds like a fun car.
we got to get pictures of that, Adam. That just sounds awesome. No, I've also got to assume this is, post Fast and Furious, if all this stuff is in, and being Suzuki, I feel like late 2010s. I mean, 07, 08, 09. Is that what we're
Yeah,
talking
this
here?
was actually '07, I
Okay.
believe, or maybe even maybe early '07. Yeah, definitely post early Fast and the Furious.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard you mention that, and your cousins mentioned that a few times, and it just sounds like a fun car. And Craig and I were actually talking last week about how cool Suzuki was as kind of this niche brand that unfortunately went away. Both Suzuki and Isuzu just up and gone from our market, but
Yeah,
unfortunate,
man, I
really.
still I still look at some of the Kazashis that you see every once in a while running around town.
Yes.
The potential that they had with their Equator truck based on the Nissan platform,
Yeah.
and then they had the Grand Vitara, which was really
Yeah.
one of the best like small crossovers, four-wheel drive that you could get. And then I
Mhm.
saw, I think it was Doug or somebody on YouTube did a video with the new Jimmy that they sell in like
Yes.
Canada and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And man, those things are just amazing. But
They're so
yeah,
cool.
kind of sad that we don't see those things here anymore.
Yeah, no,
And
you make a really good point. Suzuki is, globally a big brand, and unfortunately, they're just not in the States. And it's funny, I think what spurred this podcast on and having you on is Brian and I were down at the Houston Auto Show. We're pulling into a restaurant and we see a Suzuki Kizashi,
Kizashi, yeah.
and we're like, "Oh, those are so awesome!" And then he told me the story about
Oh
the
yeah.
Suzuki Swift or SX4 you had, and I was like, "Oh man, this is great."
Yeah.
And then Craig
So
was like, "We
Yeah, those
have to get
Kazashis
Adam
are
on
nice
now."
too, and they even made them for a while with the manual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. And
yeah.
all-wheel
Yeah.
drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
All-wheel drive manual transmission. Yeah.
That was a big deal. It was one of a kind, really. At the time you were looking at what Dodge Intrepids and stuff like that, and you weren't getting manuals there or all-wheel drive, and that thing was pretty sweet.
Look, here's this really sad reality. Here's how bad it is. I'm missing Suzuki. There is a Suzuki Swift. There's two Suzuki Swifts in my area. One I pass on the way to work every day, about the time I'm calling you, Brian, usually.
Mhm.
And then there's one, somebody works at Starbucks in Granbury that has a Suzuki Swift, and they're registered in Mexico. They have Mexico plates on them. And they're the new Suzuki Swifts, which I think are styled
man.
really well. They look good. They're a fun little or not hot hatch, but they're a fun little hatchback, and they're a good value. Like I think it translates to like $13,000-$14,000 US if you bought it here. I'm like,
Yeah.
where's that car? We need that.
I'd take one of those over a
Seriously.
Mazda 2 any day.
Whoa, easy.
Whoa, hey,
Okay,
hey.
hey. All right.
Adam, this
it's
is why
also
you're
his
here.
last
Thank
time
you.
on the podcast, Brian. So, but no, yeah, I have a soft spot in my heart for small cars that are cheap, and yes, Mazda 2 would be one of them. But
We know, Craig. We know.
hey, guys, did y'all know that we officially just had Mazda 2 Day?
No.
Did we?
We did.
I must have missed it. My goodness,
February
Adam, did you miss
2nd,
it too?
2022, 2222.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Best part is we get a second one this month on February 22nd. So be
Oh,
in
boy.
tune for that. So, all right. So Adam, you mentioned that a gearhead, but not necessarily a wrencher.
Right.
And you kind of snuck in a little clue about the SX4 y'all worked on, that you did the design and the graphics on it. So, and we also know your photography skills because, well, you've saved our butts at some events before with some of your photography skills.
Several times.
Yeah. It seems like you also have a little bit of a passion with that. So what got you into this whole automotive journalist thing? Brian mentioned you've been doing it for 14 years now with TX Garage. So why don't you talk about how you got into that and TX Garage a little bit and what spurred all that on?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to go all the way back, so I graduated I have a degree in multimedia and web development. So one of my passions also is just like internet stuff, making media. I did video stuff in high school, a little bit in college. But after the whole SX4 thing, it really kind of pushed me, seeing the traction that we got with it on social media. And in 2007, a lot of these social media platforms are still just new and, lots of potential.
Yeah. So let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
So first off, Brian, did you hear that? He's got a degree in this stuff. What are we thinking? Like,
Yeah, we're just a
seriously.
couple of schmoes with, well, actually, Craig, the only success we have is from calling Adam and saying, hey, what camera do I need? And then about 500 calls and texts after that to figure it all out. So
Yeah,
really,
wait till Adam sends us a bill. It's not going to be good. So,
Oh gosh, there goes
okay.
the show.
Okay, so back in 2007, Adam, you mentioned social media. For those going back in the Wayback Machine, trying to remember what was going on in 2007, what social media exactly did we have in 2007?
So obviously, Facebook was still just starting up, I believe. Twitter was kind of just becoming a thing. YouTube was growing. And those are kind of the platforms that I focused on then and still kind of focus on. Well, no, I don't get on Twitter anymore.
What about
But
MySpace?
Twitter
Come
was
on.
actually, no, I
Ooh.
think MySpace was dead by then.
It died pretty
Oh,
quick.
man.
Yeah.
It was dead
Yeah.
by then.
And
was on
Facebook was
MySpace,
about
though.
4 or 5 years old at that point, really. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the first couple of years, it wasn't open to the entire public. So
right.
a lot of people,
Right.
and I had already graduated in 03, so I couldn't get a student account. I was one of those weird times where I knew about it. I was young enough to know about it, and a lot of my friends had it because they were still in school, but I had already graduated, so I couldn't get an account. Anyways, yeah, the SX4 had a ton of traction, especially on Twitter, and I was interacting with a lot of people there on Twitter a lot. And whenever I started up TxGarage's, that's actually one of the platforms that we got a lot of traction on, that really kind of helped me get going.
Well,
Yeah, I can see that. And also, I don't know if SEMA was really a thing at the time, but this car sounds like it was a mini SEMA build of sorts.
It could have been. SEMA was definitely a thing at that time, and it definitely could have if the owner wanted to pony the money up to get it
Oh,
out there.
sure.
But that
Sure.
wasn't ever really in the conversation because I knew that wasn't going to happen.
well, and
But
maybe the owner was smart because Suzuki didn't last long. So, or
Sure.
wasn't smart. Maybe Suzuki would have survived if he'd have pushed this car more.
right,
Right?
we
Oh
could have
man.
single-handedly
why the-
saved.
Now we know what happened to Suzuki. They didn't go to SEMA.
Okay, so that kind of spurred you on. That got you were smart. You actually got a degree in this stuff, so you clearly have an eye for it. You mentioned some video stuff. What video stuff did you do? Because Brian and I did some video stuff back in, I'm trying to think now, Brian, 2004, 2005-ish. Brian had a little cameo in a video I did for a former employer.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right.
we did our first car filming ever. And Adam, I just have to tell you, this is how dumb we were. Okay. We had one camera that happened to be digital, but it was on the tape, however that worked, VHS-C. I don't know how it's called, what it's
It was
called.
like a camcorder. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we didn't know anything about audio. So we filmed me pulling into a parking spot. And we, the great directors and Scorsese's we are, we decided we wanted several different camera angles. Well, with one camera, you know what you have to do, Adam? You have to pull into the same parking spot like 10
Sure.
times.
Right.
It was
And
a very dramatic parking job.
And we really thought we were pretty slick. So, anyways, I'm sure your stuff was way better. What did you have?
I mean, in high school, we did have a videography class, and it was the class that did like the video announcements and stuff like that. But we also did we did a show called Campus Cops in Granbury. It actually ran on the public television station.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen this show, by the way.
Yes.
And trust me,
yes.
there are no copies. Were you really?
I've seen it. I mean, I graduated from the same high school.
Right.
And so when I was in video productions, that was mentioned a couple of times, although the
Okay.
show was not active anymore. But I have
Okay.
seen episodes
Yeah.
of this.
My class basically started that show.
That's great.
And I did
didn't know that.
I did the videography and the editing for the show. And I was in, I think, 2 episodes that they did. And I poked and prodded and tried to get anybody that still had a video file or a videotape out there with some of those episodes. But sadly, I've been told that they're probably all gone. But yeah, that was kind of my first introduction to video stuff. And then again, when I went to college, we did it was multimedia and web development. I focused a lot on web development, but we did some just standard video. And actually, one of my classmates was a video guy for Cheaters, the TV show in Texas. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
man. Yes.
But I started going more towards the web side of it and started building like web pages and stuff like that. And that again, TxGarage's was kind of a mold between 2 of my big passions, which was website stuff and cars. So I made a blog for cars and I built a website myself as more of just like a way to practice and stuff. Because at this time, I'm still working for a car dealership whenever I graduated with a degree to do web stuff. So I wanted to have more stuff under my belt that showed that I can actually do website and web stuff. And doing that actually did get me into a web career later on down the road. But it also kicked off this whole TxGarage thing where the whole idea most of the time was to do video because I was never good at writing. But I didn't have a lot of opportunity to do video at that time. So I did a lot of writing, and I probably wrote for like 5 years before I finally decided I'm tired of writing, that I'm going to go back into video. And I've been doing only videos since 2017.
Okay. So, really cool. And so Texas Garage, you were smart. You got on YouTube early. How many subscribers are y'all up to now?
5,700, just over 5,700. So
Very
y'all surpassed it. Y'all surpassed me.
well, but
Oh.
you're way ahead of us on the website, so don't worry. And on your website, tell us about the website you have, because there is content updated on there all the time with fresh new stuff. I was checking it out today, and you've partnered or have several writers that help with that now. What's the status of Texas Garage, the website these days? What all's going on there?
Yeah, so I partnered up with a great guy, David Bolt. Y'all probably haven't met him
Yeah.
yet because he's actually living up in Washington, D.C. right now. He sold his house in South Lake and moved up there to help his son, but he still is a huge part of Texas Garage. And whenever I stopped writing, he was basically my editor for a while. And then when I stopped writing, he took over the reins and he does a lot of articles, and then he recruited and got on some other like older Texas Automotive Writer Association guys. And we got some other people too, but I think we have at least four constant contributors, and then about three or four other people that every once in a while send us some stuff. So we get at least 3 to 4 posts a week on there that I still publish. But David does all the editing and coordinating with the other writers and stuff like that.
Sure. Well,
That's awesome.
it looks good. It's top notch, and it's fresh. It's up to date, and we're still trying to. We need to pick your brain on that, so you can add it to our tab. Um, so lastly, and then we'll kind of move into some actual car stuff and stuff we've been, I think, as all three of us have been dealing with lately. What's your favorite thing about doing this? What do you enjoy the most about dealing with cars on a daily basis? Continue to scratch that car aficionado itch. What's your favorite part about doing this still?
My favorite part is going 1 week in a Mercedes AMG E63 $130,000 car, and then the next week driving a uh, Nissan Sentra $13,000 car.
Diversity. It's all about
It's
diversity. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fun part is that, and you watch a lot of shows and you talk to a lot of some certain car heads, and I think this is actually a stigma that's going away more now, but like you look at the high end cars, the supercars, and everybody wants to see that kind of content. But I really love jumping between different ones and figuring out like who's going to buy this car, who's this car made for, is that a good fit for that person? Um, and what kind of engineering did they have to do to get it at this price point? What cool things does it have? Does it drive more fun because it's cheaper, or is the twin turbocharged V8 just the way to go? So it's just a lot of fun for me to see the huge variety of cars that are out there, and being able to jump in between a lot of different ones and really have an appreciation for all cars. I think Jay Leno said this a long time ago, where you can't call yourself a car guy if you don't like all cars. And I feel like I
That's
like
good.
and can appreciate all cars, and don't look down my nose at any of them. And I think that also helps the journalistic side too, being able to look at the car, like I said, with the mindset of who's actually going to buy this car and is it good for them. So that's a lot of stuff that I try to put into our videos and our content, instead of just praising the most expensive, most out there kind of vehicles all the time.
Man,
Right.
I want to jump in here real quick because Adam, that's something I've actually taken inspiration from you over the years before we even considered doing our own channel. Was that you could go onto YouTube, especially early on, and basically you would type in the car you want to see a video about, and you would find 20 videos all saying this is great.
Yeah.
And you were always good about discerning yes, it can be just great. Your E63 wagon or sedan is going to be pretty competent at a lot of things as far as a car is concerned. But that doesn't mean it's perfect, and it doesn't mean that it gets a hall pass just because it's an expensive vehicle. You've been good about getting in the Nissan Versa and then getting in a GTR and understanding the headspace of the buyer for this car and what they're going to do with it. I've always appreciated that. Like just today, you had a Gladiator video go live, and I watched that this morning. And look, I can tell that the Gladiator is not for you. We've talked about this off camera before. It's not your first pick for what your use case is, but you were
Right.
good at pointing that out. Like, hey, if off road is priority, this is you can't beat it. And if highways your jam, this is not for you. So you've been good about that, and I've always looked up to you for that. It's been great.
Appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's definitely, if I want to throw my opinion in there, and I know it's going to be kind of counter to who might be looking at the car, I'll definitely let you know this is my opinion and this is why I have it. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll tag on what Brian's saying that, and Adam, I'm sure you can appreciate this too. But one of the things we've learned in our brief time is because I'm sure you have commenters too on your YouTube channel. They're very quick to let you know feedback on and constructive criticism. I like to think.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. One of the things we've learned real quick is I don't think they necessarily, not only do they not care, they don't even like our opinion most of the time. So they just want to see the car and talk objectively about it. Give us the facts, give us the data. Like you're saying, Adam, talk us who's the intended buyer here? What were the engineers trying to achieve with this car, and did they achieve that? And so we try to rein ourselves back in a lot because we usually have to do that. Because we do like to get excited about some of these, and people don't really. I guess everybody's got an opinion, and there's a certain saying about those. So, anyways,
Right.
All right, let's.
Yeah. Well, my biggest one is just. I was just gonna say my biggest one is just letting people know that I'm not making a car commercial.
Right.
If they want to see a car commercial, they can go to the manufacturer's website and see the car. Right. The whole point of seeing a review of the car is that you're going to get my opinion of the car. And as somebody that's been doing it for 15 years, at least that should be worth something. So,
no, good point. And I think Brian just the other day responded to a commenter that, well, you can go to the media website and check that out if you really want to see it. Okay. Let's get into an issue we're having over at Texas Truck Channel. And that is we're constantly having this debate, Adam, about this EV future that's coming. And, talked about getting to drive all these different cars from an AMG to a Nissan Versa or whatever. Sometimes we get the opposite in different ways. We get the Mustang Mach-E and a Camaro 1LE the next day. And so you get polar opposite things going on, and it's really neat to see the differences. And it's really neat to see the future of what's coming with the EVs. So help Brian and I settle the debate we constantly have all the time. How soon before EVs are 50% of the market, new cars for sale? 10 years?
What
15, 20?
Question, Craig.
What?
What a clickbait question. That's a trap.
Hey, that's the other thing we've learned in our brief time. Clickbait works.
I think we still have a while.
Think so? You think?
I think at least another, I think we have it's going to be longer than shorter. I think there's still a lot to figure out in the EV market. I think most manufacturers are still going to push one or two EVs and let Tesla kind of dominate the space for a while. But I think it's going to be at least 10 or 15 years before we see 50% completed adoption.
Very good.
That's a pretty good number, honestly. So you were at the auto roundup last year, Adam, and there was EVTS was there and Blink was there, and Craig decided to divulge in an hour-long conversation about this. And I'll remind the audience there were Hellcats there. We could have just driven Hellcats and done burnouts, but that's okay. So we poked and prodded, and the answer we got was it 50% of the market by 2030? Craig, is that what someone had thrown out?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think I about choked on the air I was breathing when I heard that, because it just does it. At least in our region, it's not happening. But I have realized recently that it is closer than I had realized even a year ago. So, it could be true. I don't know the answer to that. And in our experience with the Mach-E, we spent a week with it and realized that, for most people, that's going to do most of what they want to do, at least as a daily driver. Maybe not a road tripper, but most people don't drive 300 miles every single day. So that's probably not a problem for most people. So I can see its place. Being in Texas, the land of the truck and the land of the
Right.
long highway drive, we're not LA, so it's not gonna be everybody. But
Right. And I definitely like EV cars. I'm not saying that they're not good and they're not good at what they're doing.
oh sure.
I think more the biggest hurdle is going to be logistics of the power grid, logistics of getting enough batteries to power everything, um, things like that. I think if they could already solve those things, then we might already be at 50% because they're fantastic vehicles for most people.
Mhm.
But yeah, the price of batteries, the price of the cars going down, and then just having the electrical grid be able to support it and charging stations to be able to come in, which those are actually growing faster than I thought they would, at least on the Tesla side.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, Storm Uri last year reminded us that the grid is still at its limitations, right? So, if 50% of the market went to EV propulsion tomorrow, the grid's not ready for that as of right now. Just it won't support it. So
No,
but it
yeah,
is
and
something that is getting better.
that's
And
not a Texas thing either. That's
no, that's just one
yeah,
example, right? So that's in fact we're probably better off than most regions are
yeah,
for that. But the reality is, the groundwork is there, and in our experience with EVs, we've realized that these are competent vehicles. They can get the job done. They're not just a power wheel. They've come a long way since what GM's EV1 or whenever these are first getting kicked around. Um, they're real. They're going to be here, but it's a matter of, is it everybody? Probably not. And are we ready for it all today? No, but that is the direction we're going. And I think your number's actually probably dead on, Adam. I think your 15 years, give or take, is probably pretty close for a high volume take rate.
We're going to circle back to this podcast in 10 to 15 years. And Adam, if you are correct, we will pay you everything we owe you. If we are correct and it's sooner, or I'm correct, then it's free. Okay.
my feet to the fire.
Also,
inflation,
hopefully, maybe you'll just
you
forget
can't
about this
afford that.
podcast by then.
Oh yeah.
Deal.
Okay,
Deal.
so
Okay.
so Adam, now, what do you think personally about EVs? I mean, are you excited about them? Do you think it's a good move? Do you like the direction we're heading with that? That which seems inevitable from at least my view. Have you been in any EVs? Have you had a loaner yet? I mean, what's your experience with them? Do you like them? Are you excited about getting one yourself, or are you kind of apprehensive through the whole thing?
No, I like them. I like EVs. I've liked them for a long now too. Again, I think a lot of it right now, it's still, if I was to buy one, it would be a second car. It couldn't be my like everyday family vehicle. But I have looked at like the Model Y. I think it's a great vehicle out there. I've obviously I've said I work in the tech space and web development stuff, and probably 30% of my office owns a Tesla of some kind, and I've ridden in a lot of them. I think they're fantastic vehicles. And every time I see a new manufacturer coming out with something new and cool, I root for them to make it as a success, like the new Rivian truck. I root for that thing because it looks awesome, way better than Tesla's Cybertruck. Uh, and
Big time.
yeah, I hope they do good.
Me
And
too.
I mean, it takes time for the prices to come down, and the more time you put engineering into them, the batteries are going to get better. They're going to last longer. They're going to charge faster. It's just, it's just a
time,
matter
right?
of time. But I think
Yeah.
we still have, yeah.
You bring up
Okay,
the Rivian. Craig, can we pause on Rivian real quick? I think
yeah, go ahead, please.
well, Craig and I get hung up on this all the time because when we first saw the Rivian come out, we go, "Gosh, starting price is 70K or whatever," and you option up to about 90. Um, I don't know about you, Adam, but the last couple full size trucks we've had on loan have been anywhere from 65 to 75 grand or 80 grand. And so I'm sitting here, I'm kind of going, that's actually priced about right for something that special looking and that new age. it looks way more unique than
Yeah.
any conventional pickup truck, and it's faster than a TRX.
Yeah, and you're always going to pay more you're always going to pay more than an early adopter to anything. So
sure. Oh
if you've
yeah,
got the money to spend on it and you want to be one of those early adopter kind of people, and then those are the people that allow it to be manufactured more and pricing come down and stuff like that. And I could definitely see them being able to offer $40,000-$50,000 truck if they just do good with this first round.
yeah. Get some volume under their belt and kind of figure out.
Yeah.
Like just like Tesla to figure out building cars are hard, and that's something that people like General Motors
Yes.
and Ford and everywhere else have been doing for a long time. And so, that's the hurdle that Rivian probably is facing as well. I almost respect their slow rollout. They've kind of said, let's get this right instead of just get it out. And I don't know. I'm excited about it. I've only seen one on the road so far, and it definitely caught my eye more than, any yellow Lamborghini that we see all the time. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool thing. I'm excited to see what it can do.
And it did good on
Yeah, for
TikTok,
sure.
so there's that. So
Well, yes, that's true. Oh yeah, Adam, your favorite on our TikTok. Um, I have one video of that thing on the road, and it has 700,000 views, and there's no talking to it. It was like 4 seconds. That's it.
the good news is we've made 0 pennies on it. So if it makes you feel any better,
Exactly.
Adam,
Exactly.
which is why I don't understand TikTok either. Okay, but one more question before we move on from EVs. So Adam, you're on the Texas Truck Channel hot seat, and got a question for you, and that is, what's more likely to happen first? Elon Musk gets canceled, or the Cybertruck gets canceled?
Probably the Cybertruck in the
Okay.
form that we know it today.
Oh, good
That's
answer.
the right answer. Actually,
answer.
the correct answer was that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you win the first round. Round 2. Are you ready for round 2? Round 2 is, we'll dovetail that previous question.
Sure, let's go.
What happens first? Elon Musk gets canceled, or the Apple electric vehicle comes out?
Elon Musk will get canceled before Apple.
Okay,
produces-
yes.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
So funny.
Adam, I have to disagree with you. I hope your answer is correct, but I've got a feeling it might not be.
Man, okay. So that was fun. Obviously, we're just messing around, but I do now get into some real car talk here because we've been having fun. But we recently, I think, had a similar vehicle, or probably the exact same vehicle. Adam, I think you may have had it first. I can't remember the
exact
timing of it
same.
all. Yeah,
The
But-
exact same.
Yeah,
It smelled
left
like
my
Adam.
house and went to you guys.
Yeah. It
Okay,
smelled like Adam
okay.
Musk when we got it. So yeah.
So good, because I've got a question about that car since you had it first. But let's introduce the car real quick. That was and y'all correct me if I'm wrong here, 2022 Chevrolet Tahoe Premier, right? Have that
That's it.
right? 4-wheel drive, 6.2 liter, blue exterior. That's sure had a
Premier
special
four-wheel
name,
drive, yep.
and a beautiful brown interior. Ours also came with a Dairy Queen spoon underneath the seat. So, Adam, was that you or was that someone else? You complete the
What
fifth.
happened to it?
There was a Dairy Queen spoon underneath the seat, and we'll take your answer
that
as it
could
was
definitely
you.
have
So
been-
that's good. Okay.
That could have definitely been, yeah.
It was funny.
Mystery solved, Craig.
There we
Mystery
go.
solved.
Now we know. All right. So, well, guys, we'll just open it up. I mean, I'll tell you what I think, and y'all tell me what y'all thought about the thing. I mean, I don't want to speak for Brian, but we're suckers for that 6.2 liter and just about anything. Especially since we were fresh off of diesel and we got to get that nice breath of fresh air, naturally aspirated 6.2 liters of Diet Dr. Thunder Fury. And it was just wonderful. It was smooth. It was compliant. It had the mag ride. I thought it was great. I thought it was a little pricey, but I think we call in our video the Americruiser because it's like the American Landcruiser. And I think it should get more love, or at least as much love as the Landcruiser does. I don't understand why it doesn't. That was kind of my thoughts, guys. What's y'all's thoughts?
I'll let Adam go on this one.
So I love the Tahoe. I actually wasn't ever a huge fan of the Tahoe. My dad had an that I never liked. I never, sorry, I never liked the design, the front end design of them whenever they updated. But after spending time in this 2022, it's I love the thing. It's perfect size for like the size of family that I have. Perfect ride for day to day Texas driving. Interior is really nice. The biggest downfall is the price, but you can't really say much about that because it's definitely worth the price that it costs. It just
Right.
costs a ton of money. So
That's a good point.
yeah, I've really been sold on the Tahoe, the Suburban, the GMC, the Yukons. All of those are pretty much almost like the perfect family vehicles for me, but obviously the price is a huge deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You kind of hit a talking point that I've had on those for a while, and I don't know about you, Adam, but when we were growing up, the Suburban just took Texas by storm. It was just the family vehicle. It was the vehicle of Texas before the four-door pickup truck existed. The Suburban and Tahoe was kind of like ruling the roost before Expedition showed up. Before Durango really showed up, it was really it. And now I feel like the Tahoe and the Yukons and the Escalade and those they're back on top again. It's just such a good rig. Um, I still don't think they look particularly beautiful. I think the previous gen looked a little bit better. They're just cleaner and simpler. But then the moment you sit in the current one, you go, "Oh, GM knows how to make interiors all of a sudden. This is really, really nice." And it's not busy, it's not cluttered, it's just straightforward, looks good, works well. And like you said, it's the right size for most families. And man, you can tell that thing's made in DFW because it just is made for our roads and everything else. It's perfect. It's a really, really nice rig. Again, price is the worst part about it. Um, but man, I can see why they're everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned the interior, Brian, and Adam. You mentioned you liked it too, but I mean, I sure liked GM's update to the interior. That seems to be always of late. They've lagged behind a little bit in the interior space, but that seems to have been
Oh wait,
corrected in this
of
model.
late, of the last 30 years, they've been lagging behind on interiors.
I would
Oh,
disagree. I would
I
disagree about that. You're
look,
not 100% right about that.
all of a sudden GM showed up and they know exactly what they're doing. It is properly good. They deserve credit on it.
They've had some good interior design style, but maybe not the best interior design put togetherness. So there's
Okay,
been some
I'll give you
weird
that.
Ford interiors. I'm just saying.
No, that's true. That's true.
Um, oh no,
Uh-oh. Yeah, he just heads up. Adam just texted he had to drop off because his internet connection lost.
dang it. Okay, well, you want to wrap the Tahoe thing up, and then we'll just get into news, I guess.
Yeah, we can do that. Hang on, let me text him real quick.
We'll finish up the Tahoe. Brian, you're wrong on the interior, and of
No,
GM and Pat
hang on.
What?
Let me back up real quick. I'm giving a big kudo to GM on this.
After you slapped the crap out of them.
Well, it's my entire livelihood of driving cars has been why is this so terrible? When you get it, think of like a W6 Trans Am. Those were like the coolest, fastest cars when I was in high school, and they were complete garbage inside.
Not
And
complete.
the 15-year-old Mustang interior felt like a BMW in comparison.
Oh, come on. That's a bit of a stretch.
Okay, that's a bit of a stretch.
My.
But take my point on this. What I'm saying is that GM, when we drove the C8 last year, Craig, you and I both stopped and went, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Are we in a European
right.
car? Like, what is this? And then when they fixed the trucks just recently, for example, we had the 22 Silverado, which is last year's interior, the week before we had the Tahoe. So we had them back to back. And you and I both went, this is phenomenal. I mean, they've really, really, so not only is it most improved, I think it's also best. That's my
I agree. I mean, I agree with that part of the current state of it. I just, I think Chevy had good, I think there's two different things going on in interiors. You have style, and then you actually have fitment and functionality and quality.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're right about that. I think their style has always been killer.
I think their style has always been kind of on point.
Yeah.
But quality,
the
maybe
C5
not.
Vet has a great looking interior until you touch it. And it's just one of those things where you go, in the magazines, it looks incredible. And then you get
Yes.
in and you go, why is that? I'm not even touching it. Why is it creaking? What's
Right.
going on? And it's
Right,
just one
right,
of those
right.
things. And that what I'm saying is the people that have written GM off in the past because of that,
Right.
they need to come back and take another look because it's
Agreed.
really good. It's way better than the Telluride, which wins awards left and right.
Absolutely.
So just an example. That's all.
Okay, so that's our thoughts on the Tahoe. Some Adam, some not. We appreciate Adam joining us for the parts that he could. Please check out more at TxGarage's.com, and that's TxGarage's.com. You can also find them on YouTube. I'm sure on Facebook, maybe not Twitter anymore, it sounds like. And I don't know about TikTok, but he did a how-to video on TikTok, so there's that.
He did an actual informative video about how to make a TikTok. Great.
The actors are terrible in it, but the video is great. So
that's hysterical.
Okay, so let's just Brian. I was going to do a dense story with Adam, but we will get him back on in a future episode to do a dense story. But we've got some news to dig into. The first one I want to start off with, Brian, is production issues. So we've got several different stories coming out and conflicting stories. One from Ford that says, well, the chip shortage issue, there's not an end in the near future. It's going to be going on for a little bit longer than they would hope. And they're having quite the supply/production issues because of the chip shortage. It continues.
Mm-hmm.
In the same week, GM has come out and said chip shortage is coming to an end soon. So they say it's not a problem. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's just GM versus Ford marketing talk against each other. Not sure what's happening there.
Different suppliers, maybe, because there was a moment last year when the story was inverse. Yeah. When Ford was like, "Oh, we're back to normal," and GM was going, "I don't know."
It seems to be a factor of how many cars they're moving at the moment. If there's moving a bunch of cars and there's a shortage, if they're not, we don't have a shortage, and then it swaps back and forth as people get cars and don't have cars. So I don't know. But
in Ford's case, though, it seems to be true because last week they're saying, "Oh, GM or Ford's having to stop production in 8 plants." Including the 150 and the Mustang entirely, and the Maverick they've quit taking orders on, and and then the week later they bring up the other story of, "Oh, we happen to have a shortage on chips."
yeah. So who knows? But lest you think it's just a domestic dispute between two old rivals across the pond, our German friends over there, which this is really interesting because I thought Volkswagen and Porsche were tied into each other. Mm-hmm. However, apparently their marketing teams are not, or at least not their PR departments. Volkswagen says no end in the near sight. The chip shortage will continue for a while. It's going to be a problem. Porsche says, nope, not a problem. Be over soon. So I don't know what's happening.
Oh, man.
Maybe if you're Porsche, you don't make as many cars as Volkswagen, so it's just not a problem for you. I don't know.
Maybe if you're Porsche, you just take Volkswagen's chips.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure who owns who in that relationship. It's very confusing. I feel like somebody's gatekeeping each other, but whatever. So
the Volkswagen Auto Group is sometimes dysfunctional, Craig. I think that's maybe what's happening here.
Well, it's refreshing to see it's not just us here in America. So it happens everywhere. So welcome to the car industry. There you go.
Totally.
But we have some racing news, sports actually, not always on this podcast. And I know you love sports, Brian. So you're actually going to do the sports segment, believe it or not. First time in history. So
are you sure?
I think so.
I'm the car guy because I was bad at sports. You had that covered growing up.
Something fun happened in NASCAR this weekend, and it's kind of wild. And I want you to, go ahead. Tell us what it is.
Well, I'm going to start with the car, and we'll talk about the venue after that.
Okay.
But there is, in the first time, and probably I have to look this number up, but it's been at least a decade since probably more than that, since a formidable change has happened to the stock car chassis. Now, there's different gens. There's been 6 generations over the years. And that would be starting after they got away from production-based chassis. So 2-frame chassis has been 6 generations of that. And they've been H-pattern gearboxes. They've been, I think it's a 14 or 15-inch steel wheel with a very big sidewall, big balloon, Goodyear tires, solid rear axle, simple stuff, push rod V8s, that kind of deal. Carburetors, exactly. And what they've done to the new Gen 7s, what they've been calling it, I'm not sure if they've updated that again, but when it was in production, it was the Gen 7. So the 22 NASCAR Cup Series, and this is not the Xfinity Series. This is the Cup Series. is a completely new car. And they've gotten the big three NASCAR manufacturers to get on board with the same chassis, but these chassis will reflect a much closer relation to the street versions of the cars you can buy. So,
which is working, because when I saw clips of the race this weekend, I immediately recognized the vehicles that were actually supposed to be racing. I was like, oh, that's a whatever. And which was cool. So in fact, I thought, the photo I saw, I even thought, was that a press photo just jazzed up for just a promo? And then I realized it was an actual clip of a race, and I was shocked. So good job. I mean, it's working.
Yeah. So little background on this. I'm a big Formula Drift fan. I have been for years. And NASCAR has been losing viewership for the last 5 or 6 years, give or take. And a lot of that is that the demographic that, the Dale Earnhardt diehard fans back in the day, they've either just quit watching or they've passed away. And just the demographic that would watch that is just not into it as much as they used to be. So what they've been doing is talking to Formula Drift and trying to figure out how to get the youth demographic, because Formula Drift typically has the vaping, Subaru driving teenager watching their stuff. And so they've kind of collaborated on getting some things figured out. They've had a very open relationship, open dialogue about that. And so what NASCAR has done is they've said, look, this car, and this is a complaint that you and I have had, Craig, for years, is that Monte Carlo or Taurus or Mustang or Thunderbird or whatever sticker is on the car has nothing to do with what's on the lot. There's no connection whatsoever. You can't even buy a car with 15-inch wheels anymore with a steel wheel. It just doesn't happen.
Well, wait a minute.
This is all. Hang a minute. A Gary? No, a steel wheel, not aluminum.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So what they've got are 3 brands. You've got the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, you've got the Ford Mustang, and the Toyota TRD Camry. Now, the Camry is the biggest liar of the bunch because it's actually front-wheel drive in real life. But the Camaro and the Mustang do look, like you said, awfully similar to a Camaro Mustang you buy off the lot. They're actually really close.
More so than they have in a long time.
Exactly. And part of the reason, Craig, is they've made these cars wider. They've made them, the wheelbase is actually slightly shorter to make them more nimble. And for the first time ever is independent rear suspension.
Wow.
That's a huge, huge deal for NASCAR.
Wow.
They've also gone away from the 15-inch wheel. They've gone to a forged aluminum 18-inch wheel, which you can get 18s on Camaros and Mustangs all day long. And they, for the first time ever, Craig, have a single center lug like you see in GT3 and Le Mans cars.
So like a real race car in 2022, they figured it out.
Right. Like a real race car. Yeah. And part of that problem was they were having issues. It was more of a safety concern in that with the center lug, the lug stays attached to the wheel and it's either hooked or it's not. And so it's a very surefire way for the pit crews to be safer and not losing lugs everywhere. So that's kind of a big deal. Pretty excited about that. Also, this car is fully symmetrical. And what that means is it's not a left turn only chassis. That's a big deal, which means they are planning on doing left and right turns more often than.
Well, that's a far cry from their dirt track days. Wow.
Yeah. Now, oval track's not gone, but the Cup Series generally is the only series that had turning anyways, turning left and right. So that's interesting. Also, they've gotten away from the H pattern 4-speed dog box. It's now a 5-speed sequential, which is, for those that don't know, is a lever you just pull back and you pull back 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of race series are using that now. In fact, Formula Drift is using that a lot now. And
hey, maybe at some point they'll graduate to paddles.
Maybe, Craig. That's too much to ask. You can't ask for that. But really, what's interesting about this is their debut event for this was at the was it the LA Stadium, Craig?
Los Angeles Coliseum, yes,
Coliseum.
Where the Oakland Raiders or the LA Raiders used to play, right. Where Cars, the movie, that's where it looks like they're racing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, pretty neat. They had the Olympics there a long time ago. It's a really cool venue.
Very iconic. And I've seen a lot of the playback on this, Craig, and I go, they don't need 5 gears. They need 1 because it's so short. It's turn straight away, then brakes immediately. And Joey Logano won the first round there. But look, this is the first swing out. There's been a lot of diehard NASCAR fans that are not excited about independent rear suspension. I mean, that's the work of European devils. That's not what Americans use. So that's interesting. One last tidbit on the tech side is that they are, in years past, what they would do to restrict cars' outputs for certain tracks, because certain tracks, just for stability, you don't need maximum power from these race engines. What they would do in the past is they would put a restrictor plate on the carburetor, and that would restrict airflow and basically minimize the amount of power you can make. Well, there's so many variables there, Craig. One team could tune their carburetor slightly different and not get the same result as someone else. So going forth, what they've done is restricted every engine to a spec, and that is 670 horsepower. They all have the same power rating.
Wow.
Period, which is pretty cool. That also increases longevity because they're not pushing to 800 horsepower.
Oh, it reduces the cost big time for the teams.
For sure. And the way they affect it is they change the aero on the car. So on a track where they need to slow the cars down, they will add more wing, and that'll just through aerodynamics will slow the car down. And on tracks where they have a longer straightaway, they reduce wing. So it's really fascinating. It's a wholesome rethink of how NASCAR functions. And I'll be honest with you, it caught me off guard because I've just kind of blown NASCAR off for a long time because, look, it's one of the biggest series in the world. It's just under F1. But man, I just don't get into it as much because you go, well, unless someone crashes, it's just driving in circles for a long time. So, from home on TV, it's hard to get into it. Right. So I'm excited to see what happens with this. This is going to be very, very interesting.
No, very interesting. And so, Brian, let me ask you: will you watch more NASCAR this season?
Well, yeah, because I'll probably will watch at least one.
Okay. All right. There it is.
There it is.
Ouch. Okay.
No, in all seriousness, I'm very excited about it. I mean, they've gone to rack and pinion steering. They used to use a gearbox, Craig, on the steering rack. I mean, they've totally rethought how this works. And I'm kind of going, well, yeah.
They've totally learned how to build a race car. I'm so proud of them.
It's like, well, no, they bought a Camaro or a Mustang and said, we could try some of this newfangled tech under here. Let's give this a shot.
Yeah, well, and now they'll be able to transport the moonshine, and they'll be able to catch up with the Audis that they're behind. So it's good, good for them.
The Audi A4 they're stuck behind.
Except they're transporting Busch Light, and the Audi's transporting, I don't know, some Cabernet or something. Who knows? But,
there's a joke I want to leave alone right there.
Okay, yeah, we'll stop there. Lots of landmines. Well, last part of our new segment, Brian, is about us. We've got some, you may have noticed in this podcast, we keep calling things the wrong stuff. Texas Truck Channel, Texas Truck Podcast, Texas Truck Show, Brake Check Show. What's going on, Brian? What do we have going on here? Talk us through it. Help us figure out what's going on.
Okay. Well, if you are following us on YouTube, then you've probably already seen this. We've released an update video right around the 5,000 mark, or just shortly after we updated our channel. We're really calling it a refocusing. And look, we've been doing this for just shy of 2 years. We've actually beat our objectives going into this, and we're really happy with that. But what this means is that we've learned a lot about who our viewers are, what they want to see, and being in Texas, what we are exposed to most. And unfortunately, Craig, that's not Miatas. We love our Miatas. We review them. We still book those cars every chance we get because we still cover cars on the show. But the majority of what we're covering are trucks and SUVs. And so what we're doing is we're refocusing. We're changing the channel name from Brake Check Show to the Texas Truck Channel on YouTube and the Texas Truck Podcast here while you're listening to this.
Which is also on YouTube.
We've also started a separate channel because we have a lot of people that just they don't do the podcast app. They just want to do it through the YouTube platform. And so there won't be video associated with that. We may have a few update videos dropped in there, but the goal of that channel is to just basically take this audio and dump it onto YouTube. It's just another way to distribute it.
Right.
So if you're listening to it on a podcast app, no change there. We're still going to publish it here. But if you're YouTube loyal, then you can find it there as well. Now, Craig, I do want to get into the why, because I've had this question a few times. I don't know about you, but I've had this a few times. Mm-hmm. The number one reason we've done this, and there's a few reasons, but the number one reason is when you search brake check and you leave the word show off on YouTube, what do you find, Craig?
You find actual brake checks, people brake checking people.
Right. You find car crashes mostly.
Yeah.
And then on page 24 or so, you'll find our channel. And so we've actually had manufacturers tell us, hey, we love your show. We can't find it. That's been
right. Yeah.
That's been a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And look, we love the Brake Check name. That's still going to be involved. In fact, the Brake Check show still lives on the Texas Truck channel. It's on its own dedicated playlist. But the reality is the volume of specific sedans and sports cars is much lower than trucks and SUVs. So we're focusing the branding on the truck aspect and the SUV aspect. So that's why we're doing that, and that's what that means. And it's actually, we've had great feedback and great growth since making the switch over. So I'm very excited about that.
Yes, and I would just want to throw one more thing out there for those that are listening that maybe aren't sure still. I've had some people in panic when I run into them who are subscribers, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to your channel? Is it gone? What's happened? What's this Texas truck thing?" I've Rest assured, if you have previously subscribed to Brake Check Show, you're still subscribed. It's just now called Texas Truck Channel, and so you're not going to miss anything. That's us. We're the same people. And so that's, I think that's, just no need to worry. No need to worry.
I'm glad you brought that up, Craig, because we actually just renamed the same channel. So if you're a viewer, again, no action required by you.
Right. You've already saved a puppy. You're good.
You've already, right. If you liked the video, you've already saved a puppy. You're good to go. And again, the whole point of this is to funnel in what really works for us and works for our viewers and for our local media vehicle pools. And this is just going to allow us to do more and more. So no dedication from anyone watching or listening, just more to come your way because of it.
Absolutely. And with that, Brian, I think we've got a show. So thanks for listening. Thanks for, again, listening to our good buddy Adam Moore with Texas Garage. Again, be sure to check him out and be sure to check us out, Brian, at
the TexasTruckChannel.com. That's all right there. Or you can find us on YouTube, Texas Truck Channel.
Very good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Watching or listening, either way.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Later.